What's up guys, welcome to the Far Side. This is Migs and this is my breakdown for House of the Dragon episode 8. 6 years has passed since the last episode and we see the children played by their final actors for this season. Paddy Considine steals the show portraying the dying King Viserys. The actor came out to say George R.R. Martin told him he is the best version of the king. The rest of the cast, even the older version of the children, played their part really well. Aemond in particular stood out as the one-eye playing his own little game. We're breaking it all down, let's go. If you're new to the channel, we discuss everything about family, successions, and everything in between. Please consider a like if you haven't already. We appreciate your support. Let's get into this. Let's go. The title of the episode is The Lord of the Tides, named after the head of House Velaryon, traditionally holding the master of ships in the King's Small Council. They also have the largest navy in the realm. 6 years has passed since the last episode, making this 126 AC. We learned that Corlys Velaryon has suffered a grave injury fighting in the Stepstones. The Maester discusses this with Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, his wife. We can also see Baela Velaryon, her granddaughter, beside her. Maester Calvin also describes the fever as burning from within, and by the looks of their reaction here, is a sign that one is near death. We also get a deep cut reference of Brienne of Tarth, as Evenfall was mentioned here as a source of the Ravens. Evenfall Hall is the seat of House Tarth located in the Stormlands. Vaemond speaks of blood fever, and Rhaenys says she will not have talk of crows. She's talking about crows as omens of death. One of the books from the Song of Ice and Fire is named A Feast for Crows, for all of the casualties in the story. Vaemond questions the succession of head of the house, saying he is the rightful next of kin. He's challenging Lucaerys Velaryon's legitimacy as son of Harwin Strong, and does not have any trace of Velaryon blood. We also see him talk about it during his eulogy at Laena's funeral. Rhaenys responds that such is the wish of Corlys, but Vaemond plans to take it up with the crown. He continues it's not the king sitting the Iron Throne, but the Queen Alicent Hightower. We get a sweeping shot of Dragonstone, the island stronghold of House Targaryen. Along its keep, we can see the symbol of the house, a three-headed dragon. In the books, it's described as the work of Valyrian magic. The entire castle is made to look like a dragon. Past the castle, we go to Dragonmont, a volcano where dragons usually make their lair. Matt Daemon Targaryen can be seen spelunking right there to collect Cyrex's 3 dragon eggs, one for each of his children. Cyrex is the dragon of Princess Rhaenyra. Daemon also receives word from his daughter, Baela, about Vaemond's plan to go to King's Landing and petition his succession. Inside the castle, we see Princess Rhaenyra walk down towards the chamber of the Painted Table. This is the chamber where Aegon the Conqueror initially planned his conquest of the 7 kingdoms. Notice she is currently pregnant with her 3rd child. This is a small departure from the book Fire and Blood. Rhaenyra, due to multiple pregnancies, envies the queen for retaining her slender appearance. We see Jace, or Lucaerys Velaryon, practicing his High Valyrian. Next to the fire there, we can see a young Joffrey. Daemon walks in and tells her of Vaemond's plan. She says that it will undermine Jace and her claim by extension, and most likely they'll support Vaemond's claim. They also discuss Rhaenys and how she still thinks they had her son killed. She doesn't know that Rhaenyra actually escaped, and they staged the entire thing.
To King's Landing then.
So they decide to return to King's Landing to oppose Vaemond's appeal. When they arrive, no one's there to greet them, which is similar to when her father arrived in Driftmark. Of course, a great insult to members of the royal family. Later, we learn that Sir Otto instructed to greet them according to their station. The queen might not have known Otto was planning this.
As you instructed, Lord Hand.
A lord comes out to greet them. This is Lord Caswell, supporter of the princess. We saw him last in episode 6 offering her his services. They discover that much has changed in the Red Keep and the symbol of the 7 replaced the Targaryen symbols. I think this is Alicent looking for a higher power than that of the Targaryens as she undermines their authority. We see her at the head of the small council here in place of her husband. They discuss the succession brought forth by Vaemond. Members of the council here are Jasper Wild, a master of laws, called Iron Rod due to his unbending view of the law, but Mushroom refers to another rod altogether. Grand Maester Orwyle, Lord Lyman Beesbury, master of coin, and Sir Tyland Lannister, master of ships. Lord Beesbury is confused as to the issue because it has already been decided by Lord Corlys. Queen Alicent leaves and Otto continues to talk tax brass with the lords. On her way, she mistakes Sir Eric Cargill for Arik. one of the Cargill twins. He tells her about an issue with Prince Aegon. In the apartment, she speaks with the scared servant girl and gives her some tea for any accidents. She pours that thing for a very long time. She wakes up Aegon and tells him off for what happened. Seems Aegon still has some nympho tendencies from when he was young. We see this a lot during the previous episodes. Helaena comes in, talks about the children. We don't see them here, but Aegon and Helaena have been married with 3 children of their own. We move on to Rhaenyra and Daemon visiting King Viserys in his bedchamber. The miniature of old Valyria is very dusty and hasn't been worked on in a long while, it seems. Throughout the early episodes, we can see the king working on it. We finally see Viserys and he's a shadow of his old self. He's just existing and very heartbreaking to see. Patty Considine sells it and we see him in constant pain and anguish. Remember, he's not that old, a little younger than Corlys and Princess Rhaenys, which begs the question, what is happening to him? Some speculate that the Iron Throne is kind of shunning him. Remember, he had cuts early on in the season and his wounds wouldn't heal, but we don't have any backing from the source material. Another theory is that he's being poisoned by the Maesters, but by whose orders? Your guess is as good as mine. Or maybe he's just suffering from his poor genes. Targaryens are born from incest, and although not entirely pure, majority of the members like Viserys here are a product between brother and sister, and so forth. Moving on, Daemon, who I think hates the idea of his brother so weakened, speaks about the succession right away. Viserys thought they had already won the war of the Stepstones would rage on for a while, even after King Viserys' reign and into the Dance of the Dragons. In the lore, Daemon made himself king of the Stepstones and the Narrow Sea. Also, he made his seat in Bloodstone, one of the islands. Viserys is too weak to understand the issue, so Rhaenyra introduces her children instead. Aegon III, obviously in spite to Alicent's son, and also Viserys II. The king notes the name and her unborn daughter, Visenya Targaryen. These are all her children, with Daemon Targaryen, her uncle. He asks for his tea and Daemon notes the milk of the poppy, which is a powerful painkiller, but would also leave you high. Rhaenyra thinks they should consult Maester Geradis about the king's condition. The queen, Alicent Hightower, answers and welcomes her guests. Daemon raises the issue of the greeting they had when they arrived and the king's condition, and also the removal of the Targaryen heraldry. Alicent goes on to say that she and Han will sit in the Iron Throne to judge the issue with the inheritance. Luke and Jace go back to the courtyard here. You can see the Cargill twins sparring in the background. The twins go on different sides in the conflict and will face each other before the conflicts end. The people in the keep stare at the boys and we see the rumors spreading, probably spread by Sir Otto and the Greens. Aemond and Criston Cole are also sparring here, drawing a large crowd. Criston Cole using a Morning Star. He doesn't age a day. The hair and makeup team could have added a few gray beards here and there, but Aemond outmaneuvers Sir Cole, and if you remember, he was a great fighter, beating even Daemon in single combat. He tells Aemond this, but seems he's not interested in tourneys. Vaemond arrives with a retinue of Hightower soldiers, along with the Queen and Sir Otto. They discuss the claim ahead of the proceeding. The Queen is uneasy because there's a chance the King can spoil their plan. Otto and Vaemond urge her to support the claim, saying should war come to their shores, they wouldn't want a boy to lead the greatest fleet in Westeros. And we kind of see who's pulling the strings here. The Queen is uneasy, and I think she's not outright challenging the princess just yet. Going to the Godswood in the Red Keep, Rhaenys meets with Rhaena, her granddaughter, to speak with her about the coming challenge. We see the two sides looking for support here, the Queen and now the princess. She tells Rhaenys that the proceedings are a sham and a trap to challenge her son's claim. She even offered to unite their bloodlines by marrying Laena's children to hers. Rhaenys refused because she still thinks they were still behind her son's death.
They force you to your knees, and I must stand alone.
In desperation, she visits her father and begs for him to stand up for her. She's all alone and needs his support desperately to retain her claim. He doesn't respond. In the morning, the Hand attends the king. He wants to have dinner with his family later tonight. We see his body has deteriorated and he is in anguish, but he denies another shot of the milk of the poppy. During the proceeding, we can see Otto sit the Iron Throne in place of the king for the succession of Driftmark. Vaemond makes his speech about their lines being the last of old Valyria, and he is the true heir with his Velaryon blood running through his veins. Rhaenyra defends her children but is shot down by the queen. Vaemond continues that he's fighting for the survival of his house, House Velaryon, and not for ambition. Before Rhaenyra has a chance to finish her piece about being named the heir, the door opens up.
King Viserys of House Targaryen, the first of his name, King of the Andals, and the Rhaenyra, and the first men.
And with one of the greatest scenes I've seen in a while, the king, almost crippled by pain, walks in. He walks down the hall under the glare of his forebears Aegon, Aenys, Maegor, and Jaehaerys, and I can't help feeling this is him rising to the challenge. The test he was talking about with his former hand Lionel Strong, and now he's facing it finally.
I will sit the throne today.
He climbs the steps, Daemon picks up his crown and helps his brother. Showrunners did admit this wasn't in the script, but Matt Smith's touching moment was left in as it brought depth to the scene. Daemon, who coveted the throne all his life, all but supports his brother's place in the throne. This is the last time King Viserys sits the Iron Throne, and he's kind of confused why they're there in the first place. And Rhaenys confirms that it was Corlys' wish that Luke retain his succession as the next Lord of the Tides, as well as Rhaenyra's proposal to wed her children with Rhaenys. This not only resolves the succession, but also the issue with Velaryon blood continuing to survive. Vaemond's outrage and loudly claims at Daemon's instigation,
Bastards!
Viserys has outlawed that claim in the last episode, but beating him to the punch, Daemon cuts him down.
He can keep his tongue.
We see the camera show Aemond in the background. Let's put a pin on that for now. Next scene, the Silent Sisters prepare Vaemond for the journey home to Driftmark. The Silent Sisters, or Stranger's Wives, they're not Septus, but serve the stranger. So don't be confused. The dinner scene was straight out of the book, where we get an event to celebrate the king's health. Viserys wanted this event as a way for both factions, the Greens and the Blacks, to make amends. The princes wore green for the queen and vice versa. Well, that isn't exactly the same here, but the king pleads for the reunification of his entire family. Throughout the episode, both parties are placed carefully. The Greens are placed to his right, the side of a golden mask, and where the rot is underneath, alluding to the poison corrupting him. To the right, the healthier side of him, we have Princess Rhaenyra and the Black. Both represent the conflict consuming his house. We see this during the proceeding, the family dinner, and even on his bedside. Alicent approaches through the right. Initially, everything goes smoothly and everyone toasts good health to the other. I think both the queen and the princess are genuine in their reconciliation, and the king sees that he finally put everything right before retiring. At least this puts his mind at ease. But the children kind of inherited the bitterness between the sides, intensified by Aemon's fight with the Velaryon 6 years ago. After the king retires, Aemond the One-Eye declares a toast talking about his nephews as strong boys, and fighting breaks out. Rhaenyra returns the children home. We don't really see if they left that night or if they are still within the city after what happens later during the night. A scene with Mysaria and Talia, the queen's lady-in-waiting and a secret spy for her. She gives Mysaria information on the family. Why? Well, we don't know yet. There's a lot of moving parts here, and let's hope we get the payoff as early as the next episode. That night, Alicent gives the king milk of the poppy for the pain, and the king mistakenly tells her about Aegon's dragon dream and the Song of Ice and Fire. She thinks he is telling her that Aegon should rule, and we'll see this play out in the next episode. The entire episode closes with the king calling out to his love, Lady Aemma, his first wife and mother of Rhaenyra. This actually reminded me of the end of Gladiator with Russell Crowe. This guy deserves an Emmy for this, and I'm just calling it right now. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. This one is one of my favorites out of all the episodes in the series so far, and I can't wait for the next episode dropping in a few days. Let me know what you guys thought, and like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate any support to the channel. Take care out there, and see you on the next one.